Baby, my fire, my fire. Baby, my fire, my fire. Don't kill my vibes, don't kill my vibes.
Na 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 and na na to some people in the background. Yes, and yes, yeah. Big shout out to all the ladies who who have put in the work in 2020 and in 2021. We're looking forward to all the amazing things you can do. And yes, of course, this is an opportunity to say thank you to all the women out there. You know, just thank you for being you. Thank you for being loving. Thank you for being wonderful. Thank you for being just who you are. You know, without all the women out there, I probably won't be here on this chair, on this table today with another beautiful woman. So I say thank you to all the women out there.
What are you on? I don't know. You need to go back and drink some more.
Some more?
Something, yeah, acknowledging women today.
No, I just think women are wonderful. I think they should be acknowledged every day. They are queens and they shouldn't be joked with. And any man who is, you know, playing with any woman's emotion.
I'm sorry, please. Where is Ife? Like, where is he? Is it on the table or something? What did you do with my car?
It's just the truth. If you play with a woman's emotions, I pray God will judge you.
Amen.
All right, so I have a game to play with a beautiful woman. You know, they're very intelligent and smart.
That's not double.
All right, so we have a game to play with a beautiful woman in the studio. And it's a true or false game, and then I'll just be asking a few questions, and she tells me if it's true or false.
And if I don't, can I just sip my tea?
No, just say if it's true or false.
Okay.
If you get it wrong, nothing, don't worry. You don't have anything to lose.
All right.
For being a woman, you have everything today. Just for being a woman, it's okay to lose. Yeah?
Okay.
All right, so the seahorse is the biggest animal in the world.
The what?
The seahorse.
Yes.
The biggest animal in the world. True or false?
False.
False. All right, and the answer is the blue whale. All right, so the letter A.
So I was correct.
Yeah, you were correct. All right, so the letter A is the most common letter used in the English language. Is that true or false?
I would say it's E. False.
Okay. Oh, I told you women are really smart. And yes, it is actually the E, and it appears in 11% of all English words in the Oxford Dictionary. And thirdly, singer Madonna's real name is Madonna. Is that true or false?
Madonna. I'll say true.
All right, and that's true. And it's Madonna Louis second in full. All right, so the fourth one, elephants walk as quietly as cats. Is that true or false?
I'll say true.
True. This one. I don't know where you're seeing the answers from, but I know you're seeing it somewhere. You can't just be this intelligent.
You'll be surprised.
Remy, tell me. Where are you seeing
It's
it?
even give me exposure. Look at this man.
Are you seeing the
He
answer?
threw me on the set.
wait.
You're going to play games with me. You never say, if I'm going to play games with you,
Okay. I'm looking
read
at
up
the
on
cameraman.
something.
I think he's telling you something.
Mr.
And then when I'm now looking at him, the guy is forming like he's sleeping. And I know you cannot
Cameraman is
sleep and be putting the
Cameraman.
camera there. No, I'm saying he's just forming like he's sleeping, but I know he's telling you, the one telling you
he's not,
the
he's
answer.
not.
All right, so the Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest mountain in the world. Is that true?
Kilimanjaro. No, false.
And it's where? Like
Mount Everest. Did I get it?
Hey yo. Hey yo. Okay, the star sign Capricorn is represented by a goat. Is that
what?
true
The what?
or
The
false?
what?
Capricorn. It's represented by a goat.
Capricorn.
I'm looking at my camera
Oh my
now
gosh.
closely.
Say the question again. The star sign.
The star sign, you want me to look away? I won't. The star sign Capricorn, the star sign Capricorn is represented by the goat. Is that true?
The
or
goat.
false?
I have no idea.
True. You feel that. So when I'm looking at the cameraman, you don't get it
my
right.
God.
So we know where the smartness is coming
You can't
from.
just believe that I'm
All
smart, fair.
Fish cannot blink. True or false?
They can't blink. I know they don't sleep,
Can they blink?
but can they blink?
Why are you nodding your head at you?
Okay, I'm gonna say true. They can't blink. Is that correct?
All right. All right. So the world's first
Did I
heart
get it?
transplant took place in. Well, you're correct.
Okay.
I'm very sad. Took place in Africa.
Say that again.
The world's first heart transplant took place in Africa. Is that a true or a false?
True.
Right. Took place in Cape Town, South Africa on December 12,
Yeah.
1967.
Yeah.
The Sahara is the largest desert in the world. Is that true or false?
True.
False.
Okay,
It is the
what is-
third largest desert in the world after Antarctica and the Arctic. It is, however, the largest hot desert in the world.
Ah, you're smart. You're very smart. because
Obviously.
You
I
made
thought
it
you
look
knew
like
that.
you made it look like it was a hot
I
desert.
thought you knew that.
Nobody calls an Antarctica like ice place
I said
a desert.
desert. I did not say hot. So.
Oh,
cool.
whatever.
All right. So Sudan has the most pyramids. Is that true or false?
Should not be Egypt. Sudan. False.
It's actually true because it has over 220 pyramids.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you failed 2 out of 8. You're still doing well. You're doing well. At least 2,000 languages are spoken in Africa. Is that true or false?
True.
All right. Africa has 25% of languages spoken in the world. Nigeria is the largest oil exporter in the world. Is that true or false?
False.
Where?
Iran? Iraq?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi
Saudi Arabia.
Those people, sha.
Those people.
people.
Yeah. Alrighty. And big
I'm
shout out to
smart,
you.
man.
Yeah. If I really
Don't
smart.
touch
Yeah, I've rubbed off
me.
on her, so it's really understandable. I've really rubbed off on you.
Oh, sure.
All right, thank you guys for watching. You can join the conversation on social media with the hashtag #TeaTime or tweet at us at Plus TV Africa. Remember, you can catch up on our previous episodes, including this one and all our exclusive content by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. You can also watch TeaTime on Alto TV and in London on Ben Television. A big thank you we go out to my co-anchor, Ife Omai, for keeping it jiggy, and of course the entire production team. Thank you for watching Plus TV Africa's TeaTime. My name is Ife Olua Oshunkeye. Salute.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya. Which America?
As it then do mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Now so that they talk, which America? You are going to Libya, you want to go and do ashawo.
In November of 2018, CNN's senior correspondent Nima El-Baga shocked the world with her compelling expose on migrant slave trade in Libya.
Just take us home, want to go, no food, no water, nothing.
We know that some people are being sold.
Yes.
Some people are being sold. Is this
Yes.
something you've heard about? Can you tell us about
Sure.
that? Tell us.
I was sold.
What happened?
On my way coming, I was sold. Merciless beating. If you look at most of people here, if you check their body, you see the mark, they're beating. With electric, even your boot or they took something like a sharp object.
The report reveals the slaves are immigrants from sub-Saharan Africa, including Niger, Nigeria, and Mali. The immigrants were hoping to make it to Europe, but when they were not able to pay off their smugglers, the smugglers would sell the men at an auction. This report shocked the world. Nigerians were involved. I caught up with female returnees from Libya who shared their story.
Though it was a long story, but I have to just cut it and short it. When we get to Libya, it wasn't, the one didn't tell us that we are going to Libya. All what she told us was that we are going to Italy. I've forgotten her name. That we are going to Italy. So on our arriving to Libya, all we met was that we met many ladies in the homes. I was sold to a man that take me to work because they do sell people there. They sold me to a guy. The man was Mohammed by name. So I was working for the man and giving him money. We suffered a lot. It's not just a mere journey, a journey of no return. I faced a lot in Libya. Killing, raping.
Hafsat dreams of a better life in the US as a nurse, but ended up in Libya. She tells me her story.
I left Nigeria 2015, December 18.
Why did you decide to leave the country?
He's one of my area sisters that we always talk together, though she have traveled before and come back. So when I always talking with her that I wanted to travel, and she said, okay, due to my working experience, I can go to America that is preferable. I said yes. It's even America my parents was processing for me. But since you have been there before and coming back, it might be very easy for me to quickly go. She now said, okay, there is one of her brother that has been in America for the past 15 years. When I met the man with this, my area sister, the man said we should come to National Theatre. When we go to National Theatre, we meet the man with another, maybe they are French. So Alhaji now said, okay, no problem. You know what, America, before going there, I would like to collect 500,000. When I leave Alhaji place, I told my parents, they said, okay, that's nice. Since it's your sister that connects you together, no problem. I said, okay. So since then, we always talk with Alhaji and this, my sister. So my parents tried to raise the 500,000. I gave the money to Alhaji. We meet at National Theatre again when I want to go and give Alhaji the money. So after then, Alhaji said that 500,000 is for the processing documents. I said, okay. He now said, okay, do you know what? He said, I would like to do their course there, like 6 months. So that one, I'm going to pay for it so that they can be able to get me a job very easy. We collect another 500,000. Then I gave the money again to Alhaji. Before on the 18th, Alhaji called me and my sister on the 15th that I should be preparing to get out of Nigeria on the 18th of this month. I said, then I met Alaji at airport, and that my sister. It's even my sister that come and pick me in our house. So we now go. Now said, okay, Alaji said we should be going. I said, we should be going. How is it going to be that we should be going? Where are we going? He said, what is there is that we tell someone to go and to take me to where they are taking bus to Kano. He said to Kano. And there's one other lady like this, small girl, that said, two of you go and board the bus to Kano. I said to Kano, why is it Kano we are passing to our journey? He said, I know that this our airport here, there's problem, this and that. I said, since I've never go before and I don't know how maybe they are lying or not, so I have to listen to what he was telling me. When we get to Kano the following day, I now call the number. So the person now said, okay, where are we? I said, we are in the park with the small girl. They said, okay, we are in the park. Okay, I'm coming. In the next 10 minutes, the person come with car. Said, okay, enter. You know, it's evening now, just enter. I said, okay, when we are going, I'm just observed that the person is calling. I couldn't hear what they are saying because he was talking with Hausa. So he was calling, but though the man is a Hausa man, but he also hear English. He was speaking. He said, okay, you come and meet me. I'll park the car. I will not on the light. So if you see me, you just. So that one now come. Another car now come. When that one come, say, okay, we enter. They did not make noise. They say, enter. We enter. Since I don't know what to say. They say, okay, we enter. So the first car left us there. The second car was going with us. They said, please, sir, where are you taking us to? He said, it's silence. Say silence. But it's late now. What is happening? Do you know what? Just park. Let me get down and get back to where I'm coming from. Alaji number was not going again. And that my sister number.
And indeed, her journey ended in Libya. The horror, unimaginable, as she recounts it.
What I saw there is bad experience. In fact, when you even see me when I come back to Nigeria, you can't, even my parents did not recognize me anymore. Because I was at bus stop like this. My father, he was calling me, I'm calling her that, this is me, I'm under the bridge. He was close to me, he couldn't recognize me. Say, hey, this is my daughter. Because I couldn't eat. In the morning, they will not eat. In the afternoon, they will not eat. Only in the night, around 10 o'clock p.m., they are now giving them, they call the flour banku. I think that one is very, very easy to get there, and the money is very cheap. They say banku. They will make the food with, in fact, I can't say maybe it's still or what. It's like they use grinder to grind pepper, put water and ororo and maggi. They will be eating they will be eating the food with tears.
One of the things that cut across the returnees' stories is the fact that they were tricked and trapped into the horror of forced prostitution.
The motor we will enter come be Kaduna motor. As we enter the motor, I say, she na Kaduna, they enter plane again. They say, if we reach Kaduna, plane will go carry us. It done ready. I say, okay, no problem. And that time, Boko Haram, they rain. That was 2015. We Boko Haram, everywhere, they hot. I can't dey fear for inside motor, say, hey, God, Kaduna. Where they say, na dear Boko Haram many. I can't use my mind. They pray. So we stay inside the motor for like 2 days. As we reach Kaduna for Sabo, now another motor can carry us for Kaduna. Go another side. We don't know the place. So far, we no open body again. We be wear trouser come off for house, but they can't give us passing motor. I say we no go fit carry ordinary trouser dey waka. We tie wrapper, they give us a tie. We can't be like them for there. So from that Kaduna, we another motor carry us. They carry us reach one side. We say we no go fit go back again safe. We don't know the place. From that place again, they say we go reach border. That border, they search all our load. Maybe we carry anything dangerous. They don't say anything. From that border, na bike carry us. Again, no different face wey be say we no even know them. They don ready say maybe they wan go kill themselves. Nobody no, but everybody go dey pray with in mind say God, where they carry us, they go nobody know. So from that border, bike carry us. The bike they carry us, they go no destination. We no know where we dey go.
From then, from one bus, one car to another, from one car to another, there is one place, and the place that they will stop us, they won't make noise, and they will not. There is no house in there. It's like bush. There is no the signal they are giving themselves. So from another place, there is Okada. Okada is taking us to that place. We now from the journey, we meet another person. We are now plenty. So that Okada take us to the place Okada take us is very, very far. It was taking us to around 2:00 a.m. So when we get to the house that Okada park us, that place is also bush. They just put some one mat there that we should enter. When we entered the room, I saw many girls there, small girls. They are like 50 people. They are, what are you people doing here? I say, hey, they are taking you to. You have come. I say, that bike that took us. Now come in. Say, sister, young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, which America? You are going to Libya. You want to go and do a shower.
And the obvious thing is that these returnees never make it to their desired destination abroad. Barrister O.J. Akinwale has been in the forefront in the fight to rescue young Nigerian girls trapped in Libya.
We started it. Initially, we thought it's the issue of obtaining by fraudulent pretense, and we have to fight for their right. Later, we discovered that those victims are not just victims of just collecting money, promising them to take them to America or London or to France, to Italy, but we discovered that it goes beyond that level. And we're able to go into rescue mission, and we started with rescuing, but some are very fortunate. Before, they started using them for prostitution and using them for other thing that is against their interest. So we came across those ones. We're able to rescue those ones before the full exploitation. And because of the support given to them, they were able to give us some clips, video clips of what is happening, what's happening over there. And we're able to, with the assistance of NAPTIP, we arrested those who are the traffickers. We are just working on it on issue of obtaining OBT before we now know it's a full-fledged human trafficking. That cartel has over 300 people under their captive. So they were running different homes. They call it homes. What they call it pushing. So they push them. And with interaction with some of them, we discovered that it's not that they knowingly surrender themselves. That is the wrong notion people have, that why are you fighting for them? They knew where they were going. They don't know. Many of them were told that they are going to America. Some of them pay as much as 1 million naira, 800,000 naira for traveling there. And at the end of the day, because they don't have proper orientation and information, that was the reason they easily fall prey to these traffickers. And before they know, they were on deadly voyage. And on deadly voyage, you can't go back. You want to either die on the way, or you get to your destination.
According to the International Organization for Migration, as of July 2018, over 60,000 Nigerians remain trapped in Libya. The total number that embark on the journey from Nigeria is largely unknown, although according to the Nigeria Immigration Service, no fewer than 10,000 Nigerians died endeavoring to cross the Sahara Desert and the Mediterranean Sea between January and May 2017.
As they go, some people fall for road on top of that motor, then die. Maybe say if they look down like this, this one don't die, then they go be that. Some people go faint, they no go even, the motor no go bother to wait, say make they wake up. If you where you sit down near her, if you like wake up, if you like no wake up, if you die, they go throw her for ground. Now so we continue the journey, and the motor no be say it is slow as Nigerian motor they slow. they run like say one go get accident. So for that journey, everybody just lose hope. Say either do or die. As in, if you save, na God. If you die, na God. That's what the journey be.
As of December 2017, same reports by Nigeria Immigration Service indicate that 36,512 migrants stranded in Niger and Libya are all Nigerians.
When I lost my mom, after 5 months, I lost my grandma too. So things are very bad for us that time. So my sister was in Bayelsa before she came to Abeokuta. So we are together, we are living together. So no one to help us. So one of my friends just came to our house that day that, Susan, what happened? I said, nothing. There's one of her sisters, she used to take girls travel out. Say to where? So she now said to Italy. Say, Italy. There's no problem, I have interest though because I'm not feeling fine, I'm not even okay. So I need to travel out to go and make some money so that I can come home and take care of my siblings too. So my sister said, no, she's not going. Started begging her, let's go together to go and make money. So then we'll come back home to come and take care of our siblings and our elders too. So, okay, she now said, okay, no problem. So we went to that woman's house. So she now tell us that we are going to Italy. I said, Italy, okay, no problem. So she now said she's going to look for 15,000 naira. For
15 or 50?
15,000 for passports. I said, okay. So for me, I did not see any money. So my sister later raised like 5,000 naira. So the woman now said that we should know whether she's going to help us for the passports. So after we reached there, we're going to pay $3,500 for her. So I don't know dollars in naira. So we don't know dollars in naira. So it's okay. Don't worry. When we reach there, we're going to pay you. So our mother later take us to one Abali's house. So we make an oath before we left Nigeria. So she now said that we're going to Ejido to take a bus to Kano. From Kano.
Sorry, you took an oath. What was the oath about?
That we were not going to betray her when we reached to Italy. So when we reached Ejido, we took bus to Kano. When we reached Kano, she's not following us. And I got Alaja, please, we are in Kano. You don't see any airplane. We are not in airport. So she now said that no, we're going to take ship from there to Italy. I said, okay, no problem. From there we started for the journey. So when we reached Kano, another cab they took us immediately. Later, from that cab, we get down bicycle. From that bicycle again, they just like they're exchanging goods. They just exchange us like goods. From there, we reached one place that is, as in, I don't even know the name of the place. They took my sister. I was crying. Hey, they've kidnapped my sister. Don't go and kill my sister. Hey, God, what's going to happen to me?
IOM again estimates that 80% of these young women arriving from Nigeria will likely be forced into prostitution as sex trafficking victims.
In 2016, we were involved in a rescue mission to get some ladies in from Libya, and we wanted them to come out and tell their stories, not for any other reason other than the fact that they want people to learn from their stories. They want people to know that this is not a story that is just being fabricated anywhere. This is a real danger. And we can't show the ladies' faces, but if you had seen them, they are beautiful, extremely beautiful actually, beautiful skin and everything. These ladies were targeted for this purpose because they know that these are people that are going to make them money.
And again, in December 2018, UN reports notes narrative by Nigerian migrants of unlawful killings, gang rape, prostitution, arbitrary detention, torture, and inhuman treatment, unpaid wages, slavery, human trafficking, racism, and xenophobia in Libya.
The baby wipes giving them, I said, okay, they now show me how they are using it. They will just remove like 10 out of the baby wipe and squeeze it, put it into their vaginal part. I said, and you will be sleeping with men like that. They say, yes, now. I said, if this thing did not remove, there's one girl that they now say, there is one that the thing did not even remove from the vaginal part of the girl, that the girl is even, she died. I said, this thing is very dangerous though. But if you want it to remove you, how will you do it? Say, okay, don't worry. When I want to go and remove it, I will show you. You get now enter inside the bedroom and bend down, start pushing as if she wants to deliver a baby. You see now come down and say, this is serious, oh, it's bad experience, oh. There are some, they will say, I don't want to work, I'm tired. Alhaji will beat them. That you don't want to do good, you don't want to do what? You have to work. Even if you don't want to work, he will hang your leg that you must work. Say you must work. That's how they are doing. Because it's not their wish. They are forcing them and they have to do it.
These girls go through the most horrific experiences.
They have a note of work. They gave them a note of work. I call it note of exploitation, where you will see the marking, the ticking, they will be astericing it. That means if you have, some of them will have 10, 20, 15 there. And I'm telling you, this is the number of men they met every day. And what is the cost? 1,000 naira in equivalent to Nigerian money. 1,000 naira. And if you mark 10, that means 10 men.
There are some, they say, I'll pay 3, they said I will pay 3 million, but it's 500,000, I still pay. I say, but how you guys are working? They say, maybe I always see them now that men are coming in and going out. They say, like, how many boys sleeping with you guys? They now show me their exercise book. And I even see them with my face because we are sleeping together. They just put the bed, small bed, like hostel bed. So they are seeing themselves when they are sleeping together. They said there are some like 10 boys in a day, and they are paying 10 dinar. That 10 dinar Nigerian money is 1,000 naira. Overnight is 5,000. And that overnight, like three boys must sleep with one girl overnight so that they can make money. And they are collecting this money from them. It's not that those girls have the money in their hand.
What I experienced most in Libya is a bad experience because I could not have any savings. I was working for a woman being for 1.5 years without any savings out of it. My sister had a lot of money from her. She didn't give her any money. Before I left the house, she's going to give us morning food, afternoon food, no, night food, anything she give us. Even if you made a mistake, she will minus the money, like 20,000, 25,000. That's even she can minus the money 50,000. She didn't care. She used to maltreat. There was a day I was working at that salon. My sister made some mistake. They started beating my sister like a baby. They used O's, big O's. They're using it to beat my sister like a thief, like someone thief. So I was there. They brought me there that I should come and witness how they're treating my sister. I was kneeling down there crying. I can't say anything. I was crying. So when I come back home, my sister was. I did before I came back home. Said they give me the news that your sister has died. I was just looking. My sister just died like that. Just dead. She suffered till death.
These returnees came out alive. Some others did not. They hope for better life. But first, a note of warning to anyone still considering embarking on this horrendous journey.
My people, if anybody comes to you that, okay, America, I want to go America, I want to do this, they are lying. They are lying. When you get there, you will know that there are some that they are even dead there. Before getting there, it's not something that is easy. People are dying there. They are dying on the road, and they will call their parents that they are in Igbo house, they are in this, they are this. When they want to come home, Alhaji and his wife, they will even go to their parents' house, give them money that your daughter said I should give you. So their parents will be happy that, okay, my daughter is sending to me. The daughter that you did not even hear her voice. Even if you want to hear your daughter's voice, Alhaji will stand by her that, okay, if you shake your voice or you tell her that you are not comfortable, so the girl will be you will be saying, okay, I'm fine, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So you can't achieve anything. When you go back there, the work you will be doing, they will be collecting the money. When you want to come back to Nigeria, you will come back with nothing.
Maybe I don't go. Where I don't see wetin happen for there. Where we say, I no fit advise my own enemy. The person where I hate pass for this life. Where we say, I won't die, as in, make it even die safe. Make it no die again, eh? Make it no die, make it no go Libya.
Some of the rescued have been either reunited with their family or absorbed by the Kathraf Foundation. As of the moment, Kathraf, in collaboration with NAPTIP, have been able to track and prosecute some of the traffickers.
We were able to, with the help of NAPTIP, be able to prosecute some of them, and they were convicted. And some of them are at large. Even one escaped from the hand of NAPTIP at the point of arrest because, you know, there is no enough support then, unlike now, for NAPTIP, that they don't have enough police force to follow them for security reasons. And people were shouting, thief, 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 holy, holy. You know, many of especially downtown, you see a lot of people coming there. One of the traffickers escaped, but she died eventually in Libya because NAPTIP was able to lock up all the accounts. They were all frozen. At the end of the day, she doesn't have access. She can't take care of herself. Eventually died of minor illness.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit offense truly.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya. Which America?
As it then mark our place, some people they die now.
This is PLOS TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Thank you for joining us on the news on Plus TV Africa. I am Osaogie Ogbowa. The Nigeria Labour Congress on Wednesday said the federal government was insensitive to the plight of Nigerians by increasing the electricity tariff across the country. It was earlier reported that the approval for the hike in tariff was given by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, as the increase, which varies based on different consumer classes, took effect from January 1, 2021. The regulatory agency blamed the 2 to 4 naira adjustment in tariff on inflation and movement in foreign exchange rates. Reacting, Deputy President NLC Joe Ajaero said the NERC disregarded the committee working on the new electricity tariff regime by the announcement on Tuesday. Ajaero, who is also a member of the committee headed by the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Festus Keyamo, said the committee was yet to submit its report before the NERC's action. And the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria on Tuesday expressed disappointment by the recent hike in electricity tariffs approved by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. TUC President Comrade Quadri Olaleye said the hike was effected despite negotiations still ongoing with the organized labor over the last increase that it became effective from the 1st of November. The union wondered why the government espoused unfriendly policies capable of crippling the economy, noting that many companies had either closed shops or relocated to neighboring countries because they could not afford the last tariff hike. TUC said it had become obvious that the outrage from the organized labor, the masses, and the series of negotiations with government were just cosmetic and hypocritical. It called on the government to be responsible for once by not pushing the organized labor to the wall. The union asked the government to revert to the old price or be willing to accept the outcome of what it called a betrayal of trust. Meanwhile, the Chinese government has donated the sum of 6 billion naira to the federal government as part of its support for infrastructural development. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, says the visit afforded the two nations to discuss areas of mutual cooperation between both countries. Onyema says a memorandum of understanding was also signed, which established an intergovernmental committee charged with coordinating all aspects of cooperation between the two countries.
This visit by the State Councillor is a very important one. We held discussions, the two delegations. We had on the Nigerian side the Honourable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Honourable Minister of Health was there, the Honourable Minister of Transportation, and the Minister of Aviation was represented, and discussed a whole range of matters. And we also agreed to sign an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, on establishing an intergovernmental committee that will be charged with coordinating all aspects of cooperation between the two countries.
Still in the news, the Lagos State government has employed the services of forensic experts to unearth the truth of what happened at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020 during the End SARS protest. This was made public yesterday by the chairman of the State Judicial Panel of Inquiry and Restitution for Victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters, Justice Doris Okuobi, while ruling on an application filed by the Lekki Concession Company, LCC, seeking permission to access the toll plaza. The LCC had urged the panel, through its lawyer, Rotimi Seriki, to grant its leave to access the toll plaza for the purpose of evaluating the damages at the toll gate, for the benefit of evaluating insurance claims as well as undertaking necessary repairs. Retired Justice Okuobi, while rejecting the application, disclosed that the forensic experts engaged by the state government would have commenced its work earlier, but for the holidays, which made it difficult for them to get access to relevant documents and exhibits which have previously been tendered before the panel. She further revealed that the forensic examination is expected to be completed within the next 21 days. The panel has adjourned the matter to January 29th for further hearing. And the National Identity Management Commission on Wednesday says national identification number holders are required to pay 15,000 naira to correct their date of birth in the Commission's database. NIMC Regional Coordinator Mrs. Fumi Okpeshonwu stated this on Wednesday at the Commission's office in the Alausa area of Lagos. According to her, NIN holders are also required to pay a processing fee of 5,000 naira for card renewal or card replacement, as well as an address modification fee of 500 naira. She said there are different services that the Commission offers, noting that the NIN enrollment is free, but there are fees attached to card renewal, correction of date of birth, and change of address. The NIMC official noted that the fees were payable to the Treasury single account of the federal government. The federal government had said telco subscribers with NIN have January 19th as a deadline to link their NIN with their SIM cards, while subscribers without NIN have until February 9th to do so. And youths across African countries have been encouraged to utilize their skills and talents towards national growth and actualization of the continent's goal of sustainable development. The call is made at a press briefing organized for special recognition of young people who have demonstrated exemplary leadership. Our correspondent, Jacinta Obiku, reports.
It is said that there is no successful nation as well as any continent without her youth's involvement in capacity building. Thus, young people representing different African countries believe gone are those days for blames and excuses.
There are a lot of issues and challenges. There are a lot of problems. And I just believe we shouldn't be waiting for the government every time. This is the time for we, the youth of Africa, to stand up. We can't depend on the government 100%. I think there's the limit to what they can do.
If you're a youth and you're not doing anything for your community, that's an excuse. You have so much potential. As I was saying on the stage, we're all blessed with gifts. No matter what your gift is, it's meant to help somebody else. We all have potential. Everybody has potential. Every single person has potential.
Exploring and expanding leadership potentials in Africa was also highlighted at the gathering.
Irrespective of the challenges that Africa may currently be going through, we have bright minds that have so many innovative ideas, especially in the area of technology.
I really want to encourage most African graduates that it is not about the history which you study in university, it's not about the anthropology, it's not about the biochemical sciences or whatever you studied. It's about getting a skill which can make you fit in the job market.
It does not matter what the government is doing. We youth are the largest, occupy the largest population in our countries. And it is our responsibility to go out and to volunteer and to also cooperate in the initiatives that our governments are doing in our countries. And in that way, we'll be able to develop as African countries as a whole.
Technology is rapidly changing the employment landscape, generating jobs that demand a range of digital skills. The youths are therefore encouraged not to wait any further in contributing to the growth and development of the continent. Jacinta Obiku for Plus TV Africa.
Thanks to Jacinta Obiku for that report. Still in the news, the last is yet to be heard about a teenager, Barakat Melojoekun, who accused the Ogun State Commissioner for Environment, Abiodun Abudu Balogun, of sexual harassment. The latest is that she has withdrawn the allegation in her new stance in a video in which she also appealed to Nigerians to allow the matter to be laid to rest. Our correspondent Adebanke Odunuyi tells us more on the culture of silence in the midst of sexual harassment.
The case of the sexual assault allegation between a 16-year-old Barakat Melojoekun in Ogun State and the State Commissioner for Environment Abiodun Abudu Balogun has taken a new turn. Barely days after the news of the allegation broke, the victim and her father are withdrawing the case.
I want you to know that there were few misconceptions and misunderstandings between I and the commissioner. And I now want to use this opportunity to appeal to meaningful Nigerians to Please allow this matter to rest.
Though the case has been dropped by the family, the state police had reiterated that they would continue their investigation, but that justice would not be reached without the help of the victim.
I think I want to commend the state government for the decision that they have taken and the procedure that they are doing right now, because they set up a committee. They were still going to go ahead with that investigation, and the man is still under suspension. So that's a step in the right direction.
Since it has been reported, police, that's the prosecution, or it goes to the office of the Attorney General under the auspices of the DPP. So the victim position is as a witness to come and testify before the court.
Could this be another case of culture of silence as regards cases of sexual assault? Here are some suggestions.
Culture on the one hand and the stigma that the culture brings about. In as much as we operate a culture where we will continue to re-victimize the victim in court, then it's going to be difficult for people to come out and want to talk. Then also, you want to look at our laws. You want to look at the provisions of our laws, with which when you put such things out there to the police, to the court, what is the ease and the speed with which it is dispensed of.
We have to have a system in which the victim will be advised in terms of counseling, mental strain, then they will be able to come out there. The reason is that, as you said, from reports, we see that more than 70% of rape cases were not prosecuted.
For these rights advocates, all hands must...
Highest daily count with 1,204 COVID-19 infections. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has reported a new single-day record of cases with over 1,354 fresh samples confirmed positive. A total of 1,354 new cases were recorded across 20 states and the Federal Capital Territory in the NCDC's update for January 5th, 2021. Lagos, which recorded the newest cases, confirmed 712 infections, its highest daily count ever. The FCT had the second highest number of cases with 145, while Plateau State followed with 117. However, one person was confirmed to have died of COVID-19 complications on Tuesday, increasing the fatality toll to 1,319. The NCDC also confirmed that 697 patients were discharged on Tuesday, which included 324 community recoveries in Lagos State and 137 community recoveries in the FCT managed in line with the guidelines. A total of 92,705 cases have now been confirmed since February 27, 2020, but 76,396 patients have recovered. And President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the establishment of an oxygen plant in each of the 36 states of the Federation. The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustapha, who announced this during a briefing on Tuesday in Abuja, said President Buhari also gave approval for the rehabilitation of 5 oxygen plants across tertiary health institutions across the country. Mustapha said the PTF is progressing on the issue of accessing vaccines for Nigerians, promising that additional information will be provided on accelerated vaccine introduction and deployment plan. He said the PTF was constantly reviewing its strategy to emerging situations, especially in risk communication, vaccine hesitancy, fake news, and disinformation. Meanwhile, CACOVID has commenced the daily distribution of 100 oxygen cylinders to critical care centers till the end of March. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says Nigeria hopes to get 42 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine soon to cover 1/5 of its population. Executive Director of the agency, Faisal Shoaib, who disclosed this at the Presidential Task Force briefing on COVID-19 on Tuesday in Abuja, said the vaccine would be got through the global COVAX scheme. He said the initial doses would come as part of Nigeria's plan to inoculate 40% of the population in 2021. The COVAX scheme was set up to provide vaccines to poorer countries such as Nigeria, whose 200 million people and poor infrastructure pose a daunting challenge to medical officials rolling out the vaccinations as the West African country battles a second and larger spike in coronavirus cases.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Welcome back, and now for stories in other parts of Africa. Armed men suspected to be Islamist ADF rebels on Monday killed 22 civilians and looted the locality of Kiavikere in the territory of Beni in the North Kivu region of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Local leaders Ruwenzori Bozi Sindiwako and Iteni Muvenga Kimwele said the rebels used machetes and bladed weapons to carry out a massacre and systematically loot the settlement. They said the army intervened too late to push back the rebels. Lieutenant Anthony Mushlai of the Armed Forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo confirmed the attack without giving details. More than 21 other bodies were discovered on Monday in the Lose and Lulu in the same region. And outside Africa, an expert mission to China to find the origins of the coronavirus pandemic stumbled before it even began, with the head of the World Health Organization complaining that Beijing was blocking the team from entering the country. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said he was very disappointed with the last-minute bar on entry in a rare castigation of Beijing from the UN body. A 10-man team was due to arrive in China this week after months of painstaking negotiations. Beijing is determined to control the origin story of the virus, which has killed more than 1.8 million people so far and laid waste to global economies. The first case of the coronavirus was recorded in the central Chinese city of Wuhan in late 2019, prompting accusations of chaotic, secretive handling by Chinese authorities, which led to its spread beyond China. And in the U.S., Democrats won one hotly contested U.S. Senate race in Georgia on Wednesday and pulled ahead in a second, edging closer to control of the chamber and the power to the advance Democratic President-elect Joe Biden's policy goals when he takes office this month. Democratic challenger Raphael Warnock beat Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler. Democratic Jon Ossoff held a narrow lead over Republican David Perdue in the other race, with the final outcome not expected until later on Wednesday. With 98% reporting, Warnock was ahead of Loeffler by 1.2% points, roughly 50,000 votes, while Ossoff led Perdue by more than 12,000 votes. Equities market closed on a negative note on Tuesday, declining by 1.83% as profits taken hit the market following investors' moves to increase capital gains. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All Share Index dropped by 751.25 basis points, or 1.83%, from 41,147.39 BPS the previous day to 40,396.14 BPS, while the market capitalization of equities depreciated by 393 billion naira to close at 21.12 trillion naira from 21.52 trillion naira. On the activity chart, the premium subsector dominated in volume terms with 106.03 million shares exchanged in 2,123 deals. The subsector was enhanced by the activities in the shares of Access Bank PLC and Zenith Bank PLC. And up next is our roundup on entertainment and sports news. After this break, stay with us. Now on entertainment news, the Grammy Awards celebrating music slated for January 31st in Los Angeles has been postponed due to COVID-19, which has been rapidly spreading in California. The 63rd annual ceremony's delay comes less than 4 weeks before it was set to take place in the shadow of the pandemic that has dealt devastating blows to the music industry. The Recording Academy has said the show set for late January would be mostly virtual, but had not released specific plans. Rolling Stone, which broke the news, reported that the ceremony's organizers were aiming to reschedule for March. Beyoncé, Dua Lipa, Taylor Swift and rapper Roddy Ricch are the top nominees at the normally star-studded gala. Comedian Trevor Noah was set to host the 2021 show. And now in sports, a member of the USA's 2015 and 2019 World Cup winning squads, Alex Morgan, says she and her family closed out 2020 by contracting coronavirus while in California over the holidays. Morgan recently rejoined Orlando Pride after a short spell at the Women's Super League side Tottenham. The 31-year-old is a two-time World Cup winner and scored 6 goals at France 2019. Morgan said she and her family were in good spirits and recovering well, promising to return to U.S. soccer after her isolation. And that's the news at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. We will be back later with more stories making the headlines. Do join us. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa, and thank you for watching.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Our guest today on One-on-One is Chinenye Mba Uzuko. Has a 30-year career in marketing, communications, multimedia and enterprise software development, e-learning technology strategy, software development and change transformation strategy in health, education and governance. He founded the multiple award-winning technology solutions pioneer Infographics, Nigeria, and also worked in Microsoft Cooperation as general manager, Anglophone West Africa. Departing in 2009 to pursue his vision of a borderless Africa in his current role as the managing partner of Grand Central and lead partner of IX Consult, a boutique startup incubator. He is the president, Institute of Software Practitioners of Nigeria, a trustee, Education Reform Intervention Team. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you're a technology consultant. How did you get so passionate about education?
First of all, I got into university to study veterinary medicine, and eventually left veterinary medicine to start to read political science, and then ended up in technology.
Okay.
So I've been through many areas, and usually through the back door, kind of like figuring out, oh, this looks interesting, this looks interesting. What it has led me to is a conviction that success actually begins with education. There's nothing else. Literally, if you have, we're all born with certain gifts, certain abilities, certain talents. If you do not pass through education, and a solid education, you will have great difficulty being successful in life. So I started to focus more on education technology, and that led us into education reform, looking at things around how do you actually create capacity at a national level for quality education. So I've been doing that for about 18 years now.
Wow. Okay. So let's start with the elephant in the room. How do we stop the incessant ASUU strike, and get a more progressive solution?
That's a big elephant. Okay, so ASUU strikes for a reason.
Okay.
And if you really want to solve the problem of the strike, you have to remove the reason. But I think over the last 30 years of ASUU strikes, that reason may not be so clear to all of us anymore, including ASUU, and perhaps even the federal government that actually is the protagonist on the other side. And what was the reason? The fundamental reason for a union is to protect the welfare of its members. And that's what ASUU does. It has to protect the welfare of the academic staff of the universities. And so that's its reason for existence. But it operates within a sector that is supposed to also take responsibility for. And it has broadened that understanding of the welfare of its members to include the welfare of the entire tertiary education system. So they kind of like stand as representatives, but they're not the only ones. There's the non-academic staff union, there's the students union, there are different groups that are in that ecosystem that take care of the various constituencies within the ecosystem. So ASUU doesn't stand solely for the entire ecosystem. So what does that lead us to? It means that the reason for ASUU, if you make the staff welfare as they desire it to be, or as a country desires it to be, then there will be no strikes. But when you unpack that, you start to see a lot of other issues that are involved. And one of the biggest questions that we need to ask ourselves is around, you pay somebody a wage, and you're paying that person a wage for productivity. If the output is not forthcoming, then what do you do? In the private sector, you let the person go. You try to get them to produce. You work on training and reskilling and retooling, and eventually, if it doesn't work out, you ask the person to go. ASUU's perspective is that if we say that they are not performing, as they have themselves admitted, that they're not producing graduates of world standard, world-class standard, they say the reason is because we have not created the environment. The owners of the schools have not created the environment for them to work. But you and I went to school. I went to school in Nigeria. You probably went to school in Nigeria. If the students were asked the question today, over the past 10, 20 years, they would tell you clearly that there are other issues which we must be truthful about. And one of the most important, in fact, we don't even need to go far. If you look at the report, there was a 189-slide report that was produced in 2012, I think, when the government then said they would sit down with ASUU and they would examine the universities, the state of the universities. And they went to about 61 universities and they came up with this report, so 189 slides in that deck. When you go to the summary, the first problem, by the way, the president of ASUU was a member of that team.
Okay, the current president
Not
of
the
ASUU?
current president, this was in 2012.
Okay, yeah.
He was a member of that team. And the report says the number one problem in Nigerian universities, the Nigerian university system, is leadership and governance. Leadership and governance. That was the first problem that they identified. Of course, they identified infrastructure issues, which is kind of like classrooms, hostels, and things like that. But it's very significant that the truth was told. The central problem of the universities is leadership and governance. And if you trace the problems that we have in a tertiary institution back to the source, you will find that the decline in tertiary education actually began with the failure of leadership and the failure of governance. Leadership in terms of within the universities themselves, the quality of the vice chancellors that were elected into office, the quality of the deans of the faculties and the heads of departments, where it moved more into the political realm than it did into their performance for the function for the purpose for which they were employed. That's leadership. And then you go into governance, and governance is about the quality framework. What happens fundamentally when you have a system that its production, what it produces is intangible. You take a student at 16, 17, 18 years old, you pass him through a system or her through a system for 4 years, and the output of that 4 years is supposed to be a child that is ready to work in industry and be productive to society.
True.
That should be the measure. And on the basis of your capacity to produce those kind of students, you are then promoted through the system. You're also promoted through the system on the basis of your own productivity in terms of your research. Because a university lecturer does teaching and learning. So you instruct, right? And you instruct the generations that pass through you, but you also do new research to uncover new knowledge.
Okay.
And only when you uncover new knowledge can you publish. If you're not publishing, then what? So if you go and you look at that report in 2012, it says that 80% of the research of the publications coming from the university system was published to local journals. If you look at the hierarchy, the governance structure for checking out, for evaluating performance, the local journals, they're all graded. The highest, of course, is publishing when your paper is accepted at an international level. That's the highest level. If 80% of the output is in the local journals, and with no intention to disrespect anyone, but that's the way that the system is structured, it means that the research output is poor. The teaching output is poor. So where are we?
Listening to the government, it says the famous 2009 agreement signed by the federal government to release 300 billion naira yearly for 1.3 trillion funding of facilities is unrealistic and is blaming past government. Shouldn't government be a continuum?
Indeed, government has to be a continuum. So here's the thing. Government reached an agreement in 2009 and was unable to implement it for various reasons. That agreement was later on revised. And I remember that it was President Jonathan who took over the negotiations with ASU at some point. And he came from the university system himself, and he sat in those meetings with them, and they reached a resolution. And he even at some point actually is reported to have even overridden his Minister of Finance at the time, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, and insisting that these funds would be released. So clearly he knew where he was going to get the funding from. But you always have to match that to government's other responsibilities. And this is where we have to ask ourselves fundamental questions. Yes, government is a continuum, but the circumstances in which agreements are reached don't stay the same. This is where in the year 2020, approaching 2021, you're arguing about an agreement that was established, an agreement that was met in 2009. So 11 years later, you're insisting on the same thing. In fact, if we look at the at inflation, whatever was agreed on in 2009, in Naira terms, right, it was set in dollars, and in Naira terms, it is now 3 times that amount of money.
Sure.
So where is that money going to come from today? Do you want to now increment that funding from 2009? And remember, the circumstances in 2009 carried through 11 years later. The universities have deteriorated even further over those 11 years. So it goes back to that question. Yes, government is a continuum, but everybody knows that the context will always change.
Why is funding just the priority and just the focus? Nobody's talking about, the leadership problems in universities.
I think it's because you're asking the teacher to grade himself and not asking the students and not asking the parents. If you're in a society where if you are marking your own exam, there's certain things that you would ignore.
True.
In fairness to ASU, they have mentioned at a number of times that they have challenges within their body, and some of those challenges they ascribe to politics. So in many of the universities now, there's this whole indigenization thing. So if you're not from that area, from that area, you don't become the vice chancellor. The indigenes insist on a certain number of lecturers and things like that. There are politicians who interfere in the hiring process. And the structure of the universities themselves has been kind of like infused by the system that we have in our country as a whole. Why is funding brought up? Because funding is what we can all understand. Remember, ASU is a union. And as a union, they would always, they have their own strategies around negotiation. The one thing that makes a lot of sense to all people who are involved in the ecosystem is that we want fancy universities, the kind that you send your children to abroad. That's the refrain. Oh, you're sending your children abroad. The leaders send their children abroad to fancy schools, but they don't want to create the same kind of environment locally. So people can relate to that, and it's a fantastic negotiating chip. But the issue is bigger than that. Okay. And this is what bothers me the most. When we've had discussions, and we've had occasion to relate with ASU, I've been struck by the absence of a responsibility or accountability for envisioning education as for the entire society.
Okay.
There's this narrow focus on the tertiary institution, as though if you solve that problem, you've solved all problems. The tertiary institutions in this country have a gross enrollment of under 2 million students. They have a staff strength, academic staff strength of under 100,000 across all 167 or 169 universities. At 2 million, which at 2 million, that's about approximately 1% of our society, 1% of our population. The global benchmark for development for tertiary education impacting your GDP is 8%. So with the capacity of our system, we are just not producing enough intellectual capital for enough human capital to drive development in this country. And the answer doesn't lie in funding the current system. Indeed, what I believe very strongly is that ASU and possibly even the federal government, they are locked into this fight that is a fight for the 19th century.
Okay.
They're struggling to rebuild structures and institutions and everything that belonged in the 19th century and not in the 21st century. Nobody is talking about what should the new model of education be.
So how do we begin to get to those conversations? Because we can't get stuck here forever. How do we begin to, and I like what you said about how parents, because those are people that have the power, the parents paying the school fees and the students benefiting from the system. But in the current situation we have now, the parents and the students are powerless. You know, they're unable to do anything. So how do we begin to move that conversation forward? How do I begin to have power as a parent in a public university? How do the students begin to have power? Because for example, I did a course in, Lagos Business School for the first time. That was right after I left university. And they told me to grade my facilitator. I thought it was a trap. I was like, in Nigerian university, you never do that. So, but how do we begin to move that conversation, forward, as a country beyond just the federal government right now? How do we do that?
I think you've made a great point, and let's understand that in Nigeria, what is now called the Office of the Citizen is an office that has been abandoned by the citizens themselves. We have, when you think about elections over the past 20, 30 years, how has education ranked in terms of priorities that have been set by the electorate for what they want to see from their elected officials? Because you have to set your prioritization right. The truth is that we haven't set education as a priority. And if you look at our budgets, it explains that. Because in the budgets, the education budgets, 80% of the money goes to recurrent expenditure and 20% to capital. So you're certainly not growing. So you have a system where where your population is exploding. We say we have, and that, I always go to numbers because numbers actually tell a story that you have to confront. Remember I said that there are only 2 million students in Nigeria's universities. In that 2 million, only 5.3% of that is actually in private education, private universities. The rest are in public schools. Which means that if you don't solve the problem of public education at a tertiary level, then you don't have an education system at tertiary level at all.
Okay, please stay with us. We'll go on a short break and be right back.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Thank you for staying with us. We're still on 101, talking about education. So, Jenny, please carry on.
So I was trying to make the point that you have a tertiary education system that represents about 2 million of a population of 200 million, approximately 200 million people. So if you take the numbers again and you look and you say, well, if they say indeed that Nigeria's population, 60% of our population is youth, 60% of 100 million is 60 million, 60% of 200 million is 120 million. Essentially what it means is that you have to have an education system that accommodates 120 million people from early childhood all the way to on-the-job training.
True.
So within that 120 million, ASU is fighting for funding for 2 million. What happens to the rest of the population? And shouldn't that be a concern? Why is it that the system is the way that it is? It's fundamental. I think the bottom line is really accountability.
Okay.
The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria says, it offers a guarantee for free education, qualitative education to every citizen of Nigeria. That's what the Constitution says. The Child Rights Act reinforces that of 2003, reinforces that and says every child has a right to education. Because we understand that without education, you cannot be a good citizen, you cannot be a productive member of your society.
True.
So constitutionally we say so, but if you go to the Constitution, you'll see there, it says where practicable. So we wrote a Constitution that offered a guarantee and then provided a backdoor for us to abdicate that responsibility. And all ourselves as citizens, as well as the government, we have gone through that backdoor with great happiness and abdicated our responsibility. So there is no accountability within the system. If you can hold, the only person who is held accountable in the education system is the student. The student doesn't pass an exam, he fails. The student has to write a thesis, he has to develop it somehow, he fails. The student gets out of the university, out of the education system, and goes to get a job and cannot get the job because he's not ready for industry, he fails. What happens to all the people in the entire value chain, from the highest of levels to the lowest of levels? What is their accountability to the student? And how do you hold them effectively accountable? That's the role of the Office of the Citizen.
So how do we begin to do that? Because I remember when I was in university, some of our lecturers would say A is for God, B is for me, and then you guys get C, D, and E, along the way. So even the student is not even, like he's going to make an effort, but he's already even demoralized. And then I have to add it to a second question: how do we begin to change? Because I find that many times, many students who have failed within the Nigerian educational system leave the country, and then they're excellent students everywhere else. How do we begin to change that? How do we begin to enforce? So yes, you've told us that the Office of the Citizen is important. So how do I begin to want to do this? Because oftentimes, even in schools, when the students have student unions and try to make lecturers accountable, if you remember the report done by BBC where some lecturers were exposed, even some lecturers came out to defend those lecturers, even when there were video evidence to show. So how do you begin to do that? Because when student unions begin to try and make lecturers accountable, they are victimized, expelled. How do we do that? What do we need to do?
And this is where it's a great question. This is where we have to, because we cannot abstract the education sector from the rest of the society. The challenge is in the larger society. So if we admit that we are not really practicing, we're not really playing our roles in a democracy, and then we understand that the structure that we have is top-down. That's why there is so much emphasis on who the leadership is in every layer of our organization, every layer of our society. If you go to school and you see the structures in a school, you have something called a PTA.
Yes.
The PTA holds the school accountable. Right?
True.
And the school then has to answer to the PTA for certain things that it does. When that system does not work, then the school is the school administration and ownership is completely liberated from any accountability. They can do what they want to do.
But in a university system, how do you have a PTA meeting?
Exactly.
Because that happens in a primary and secondary school.
So now this was where the unions came up, because the unions came up as a means of applying some kind of a check in a system, in the former system that we had. So you had the NANS, you had the ASU, you had the non-academic staff union and all that sort of stuff. So these guys were really supposed to be like a counterbalance to authority, which resided at that time in public universities and the federal government.
Okay.
Over time, particularly during the military regime, they worked to break the power of those unions. And by breaking the power of those unions, they liberated themselves from responsibility. We moved into a democratic environment, and they continued, the civilians who now took over continued with the same attitude as though they were military. And so the lack of accountability is not there. What is the how? I think that there are two or three things that need to happen. The first is that, and unfortunately, all these things have to start from the top, because that's the structure that we currently have. First of all, we have to accept that we cannot, in the year 2020, be building an education system that's on a 19th century model. So that means that we have to fundamentally re-envision education for the 21st century. Okay. And when we do so, we will find that a lot of people, including ASU, will be uncomfortable. Because what it means is that the ASU lecturer is no longer evaluated based on what his vice chancellor or his head of department or his faculty head thinks. Because the students will have, in the 21st century learning environment, the student will take courses from a lecturer in Harvard. He will take courses from a lecturer in MIT. He will take courses from a lecturer in the university in China. He will take from Australia. And so the university lecturer in ASU, in Nigeria, is no longer measuring himself against his neighbor, but against the global standard. And the student will be able to pick and choose what courses he or she wants to attend from anywhere in the world. That fundamental transformation is a threat to the existing system, because then those who cannot meet up to that standard will fall by the wayside. True. Today I was going through a document for Eton College. Eton College is a secondary school in the UK. And it's one of the oldest and one of the most famous schools. And I was looking at the house masters and the credentials of the house masters, those who manage the students in the boarding environment. There wasn't a single one who didn't have like a PhD or a master's from an Oxford or a Cambridge.
Wow.
They had studied things like neuroscience, nuclear physics, chemistry, the classics in Oxford and all that. Secondary school. How does a secondary school student in Umuahia compete with a secondary school student who has gone to an Eton College in a flat world that has been created by the 21st century? You made a good point around what happens to a student when he leaves Nigeria. And I want you to mark it by two things. First of all, for almost 40 years, we have been doing something called Alternative to Practical as an exam.
Okay.
Alternative to Practical is an exam that was put in place for students who didn't have access to labs, who actually never did the titration, didn't do the experiments that were required to do in physics, chemistry, and biology.
Okay.
And that Alternative to Practical has become the de facto exam because the schools don't have labs. Now, you do Alternative to Practical, and then you take an exam to get into university to study medicine. You have never once done a single experiment in a lab. So what do we do? If you look at the cost of implementing laboratories, each laboratory in a secondary school would cost something between 80 and 100 million naira for one lab.
Wow.
So how many of them can we possibly build? You need to be able to understand the limitations that you're facing. If we took the entire federal budget and applied it to education, we would probably not even be able to meet up with the infrastructure.
Okay, so this leads me to my next question of how can we begin to merge technology to help with education, not just on the tertiary level, but also across board, so that we don't have to, because even, the open university system that we have in Nigeria that we assumed will make things better still is very, hands. So yes, the students don't physically go in except when they have exams, but they really don't use so much technology. How do we begin to use technology to reduce this cost and to improve education, on a whole, not just from tertiary, but from primary, secondary to tertiary?
The first challenge we have is not the how. The first challenge we have is that we don't believe it. If we believed it, we would have committed to it.
But I think we believe it. Sorry to interrupt, because the pandemic
what
now
did ASU
has...
tell you?
What
did ASU tell us about online?
Okay, yes, well, true.
So they said it is impossible.
But it said to be practicable, because during this time, most schools now, even for the secondary schools, they've alternated the days where they go to school 2 days in the week.
You and I understand
3 days in the week.
We know it's a reality.
Okay.
But if the Academic Association of Universities are highest, where all our eggheads are, tell you it cannot work, then what do you expect the government to do? Force it down their throats? Who's going to make it happen? The issue is that by 2014, the Indira Gandhi National Open University had more students, at 2.2 million students, than the entire 167 universities in Nigeria today have. One university, online university, had more students than the entirety of all 167 physical universities.
But Chidi, I think you've also alluded to the
So what we need to do is this. So the first thing is, and sorry, just to kind of, because I know we always have time limitations. Yeah. The first thing is that we have to make a national commitment.
Okay.
Right? And that national commitment can only come when we have an open and public acceptance that the 19th century model for education has to go. And we must, as a country, go to the 21st century. And you cannot go to a 21st century model without accepting and embracing technology as the fundamental enabler of learning.
There's so many questions I want to ask. There's so many questions, but sadly we can't take, time, because I want to ask about internet penetration. How are we going to have that, across the
We don't need the internet.
We don't, across the country. We don't need the internet?
No.
What do we need then? Please, let's just make this your last one. What do we need to be able to go fully online?
So if this were a classroom for me, and every building around here was housed parents with children who wanted to go to my school,
okay,
what I would do is that I would set up Wi-Fi access using a simple router, no internet. My computer will be here, all my lessons will be here, and anybody who is around, just like you use your MiFi, right? Your MiFi, you're connecting to me this time, not connecting to the internet. And anything that I broadcast from my computer here, anybody in this vicinity who logs onto my network will get exactly the same content. So 80% of the content that is required, even up to 90% of the content that is required to teach, does not require connection to the internet.
Okay.
So I can create in a rural community. I can bring the world to a rural community. How would I do that? I take my laptop. I download all the content that I require onto my laptop. It's powered for 8 hours. I pass my neighbor generator. I go to a primary school, and I take a small projector, and I go to a primary school, and I project on the wall. I will run every single class to world-class standard off of my laptop, because I can have the entirety of Encyclopedia Britannica on my laptop. I can have all the lessons from early childhood through to university. I can have over 6,000, and it's not theory. We've done this in Cross River State, where we went by canoes into villages, and we taught teachers how to use laptops in their classrooms.
Wow, interesting. Sadly, we will have to go. And please, we'd like to have you again. I hope you'll make time to come again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
That's all we can take on this episode of 101. Please join us again. I'm Fumi Onuajefe.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Bunganyi. I want to thank you for joining us today on the show right here. Each week we bring you the latest in entertainment news, in sports, in fashion, in film, and television from around the world. Let's start the show. And we begin with the 10 African films that have been submitted to the Academy Awards for consideration as Oscar nominees for Best International Feature Film. They include Kenya's The Letter,
Unasikia sasa?
and Nigeria's The Milkmaid. You may recall our Grace Oyanubi catching up with the film's executive producer Shewun Sewemumi here in Washington last year. The film tells the stories of two sisters whose lives were shattered by gender-based violence of militant insurgency. Here is a look.
The Milkmaid is a story that is topical, given what's happening in sub-Saharan Africa and the decimation of lives that's happening with the insurgency, especially with women and the girl child.
Camera set. Action. The story of The Milkmaid is a story of two sisters who are living their lives as milkmaids in the village. And the younger sister is in the process of getting married, and that wedding happens, but right in the middle of the wedding, they encounter an attack by extremists and get taken away from their village, relocated to the camp of the extremists. There they undergo the process of indoctrination and basically a new way of living which they are not accustomed to.
There's a physical background where we're showcasing the landscape in this part of the country, the beauty of the landscape, and we're also showcasing the cultural landscape, the color and the elegance of the Fulani culture.
Menene kike so?
Na neman yar uwata.
Menene zaki bada?
Mu kuma za mu koya miki yanda ya kamata har ki ce da mu kin gode.
Na yanke shawarin zan aurar da wannan mata.
Ba za ki bi umarni na ba. Daga mi ita daga nan.
Idan ta mutu ma, haka Allah ya so. Ki shirya kamar mace ta gari. Ina zuwa anjima da dare.
What we don't usually have are stories behind the people involved in this crisis. What we see are the statistics, 10 people died, 15 people died, 50 people died. But we get to know nothing about these people as human beings, their lives, their loves, their desires, their hopes. So the film really aims to train a spotlight on the lives of the people caught up in the insurgency situation in the country.
The truth is, the girls are still being taken. So it's not so much bring back our girls, it's stop taking our girls.
Hukuma yadda muke da.
Ba za mu iya ba. Babu ma wanda zai iya.
And also from Nigeria is a powerful new film, Ife, the tale of love between two Nigerian women that is so controversial, the filmmakers scrapped plans to release it locally.
I told my mom first. Took her about him.
In the Yoruba language of Nigeria, Ife means love. But this love story between two women in a society where homosexuality is largely shunned and where same-sex marriage is illegal, the nation's censorship board threatened to go after the film's maker for promoting homosexuality in a film industry that, despite its huge output, is largely conservative. That has led the filmmakers to not push for local release. They instead plan to drop it online on December 10th.
Filmmakers here, mainstream filmmakers, usually shy away from telling stories that center LGBT people. And even when those stories are told, they are told from a very negative point of view.
More than 30 African countries criminalize non-heterosexual relationships. In 2018, Kenya's first lesbian feature film, Rafiki, was banned at home, despite the fact that it was the nation's first piece to premiere at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival. So who should watch this film?